Welcome, everyone, to another session of our podcast series, Leading from the Library. I'm Shannon McClintock Miller, and I am so excited to be here today with two new friends that I heard about from my dear friend, Bill Bass, one of our Future Ready Librarian members and just amazing contributor to our group. And so I'm really excited today to welcome you two on from Parkway School District in St. Louis. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm so excited. And why don't we start by just having you introduce yourselves and tell what your role is?
Sure. My name's Kyra Brennan, and I am the Innovation and Library Systems Support Specialist in Parkway, and I work with Bill. And basically, I am the support for our district's 29 libraries. And this is my first year in this role. I was a classroom teacher for about 24 years in a middle school library as well. So I am so excited to be in this role. And honestly, it is a blessing. These librarians that we have in the district are so incredibly talented and creative, and I am happy to be here. So I brought one of them along with me today. This is Dr. Gray.
Hello. Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. I am the librarian at Sorrento Springs Elementary School, which is part of the Parkway School District. Sorrento is in Baldwin, Missouri, great little community. I've been in this role at this school, I think this is my 7th year, and I was also a kindergarten teacher for 15 years before this. So,
oh, you guys have some great jobs. We're lucky. I always tell the kids we have the best jobs in the whole school. So it's pretty awesome. Well, and when Bill was I asked him if he had any librarians that would be great guests on the show. He was so excited to share what you are doing this year around the Mindful Librarian. And so I can't wait to have you share just the background of that and then how we're thinking about ourselves and others and community and our kids. And so let's just start by talking about what the Mindful Librarian means.
Sure. Honestly, it stems from when I was teaching. We did a lot of mindfulness with our middle school students and talked a lot about meditation and deep breathing and relaxation, and even ventured into yoga a little bit and things like that. But honestly, when it came to thinking about this school year, we've all really been through it, right? It's not an easy time for anyone. It's not an easy time for our librarians or our families or our students. So in kind of centering our work this year, we wanted to take that into account. So while we were thinking about how we still want to be future ready and how we still want to be leading from the library and all of those things, we wanted to be really mindful of what's going on in people's lives. So I really, really enjoyed this book. It's called Mindful School Libraries, and it's by Wendy Stephens. It just came out this past year. But there was one particular line, and it wasn't even on an inset or the title of a chapter or whatever. It was buried down on page 110. But kind of the statement is what is driving a lot of our work this year. So I'm going to read it really quickly. She said, "School librarians can create inclusive spaces that promote care for ourselves, each other, our communities, and the world around us as a daily practice, as part of a necessary universe of support for young people." So kind of those 3 ideas. So taking mindfulness, but stretching it out to mean something more, like being in the moment in terms of self-care, caring for others, and then caring for our communities and the world around us.
I love that. I love Wendy's book too. I think that is just so important, especially this year, as you said. We're hearing stories of not just, our libraries and librarians, but I think just us working alongside our teachers, they need that so much. And then especially our kids and our families. And so, on that, like, let's first talk about just caring for ourselves.
Sure. I think self-care is important, and I think everyone realizes that it's important, but at some point it sort of just became a thing that people say, you get a list of 20 things to do and then take care of yourself while you're doing it, so it's something you really have to be mindful about and be really purposeful about it. So we talked in our opening meeting about kind of the old, you can't pour from an empty cup. So, as librarians, we want to be so supportive of our communities and our faculty and students, but can't do that if you don't have it to give, right? So we talked a little about just how, the emotions surrounding that make us feel. And, I think everybody has a little bit of burnout in their jobs. That's just normal, right? We all have things that we don't like to do necessarily, but it's kind of a secondary trauma that a lot of us have experienced throughout the pandemic, race-related trauma, economic-related trauma, all of those things. And so those two things kind of coupled together has formed kind of some compassion fatigue, Yeah. We love our kids and we want the very best for them. And so it's like, it becomes personal after a while. So that part of taking care of yourself has to be first. And that's why I like that she had it in her statement first, because that has to come before anything else.
Yeah, that's so important. It's hard sometimes, isn't it, for us? Like, I think librarians are such caregivers and we want to do everything and take care of it all. And sometimes that's hard, but I'm glad that you say that, because we all need to remember that. And then comes care for each other. And that's something that I know I go to school every day and I think in my head, like, what can I do to support my teachers? Because like, we have it tough in our libraries, but our teachers are the ones that are responsible, for closing that gap. And they're the ones that are with our kids all day long. And it's just really something that I think when it comes to mindfulness, like, I think about that every single day. And so I'm excited to hear what you have to say about that.
Right. So we've been talking a lot about caring for staff and students, maybe in a different way or with a different lens than we did before. So I'm excited that 2 of our high school librarians in November on the Future Ready Summit are going to be talking a little about what they've done to just sort of bring the fun back to their community and get the staff involved. They have like a subscription service they've been doing, just some really cool, fun things, and the reason I admire that so much is I think when we talk about SEL, it's often, not talked about at the high school level as much. So I really, I'm a big admirer of what they've been doing. We've talked a lot too about just making sure with our students doing a lot of culturally responsive practices and working. We have a really strong equity and action committee that Dr. Gray works on, and she can talk about that in just a minute. And we have librarians engaged in Project Lit. We have a very strong independent bookstore here in the St. Louis area called I See Me that's centered on African American literature for children. They do book fairs and subscription service and book kits and book clubs and all kinds of things. So we have We Stories, which is another St. Louis-based organization that we take part in some libraries. So just, again, mindful librarian, just being really mindful about that caring piece. So kind of it's the SEL, but sort of taking it to the next level in our practice, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I love that. And then we come to just the community and the world around us.
I'm going to let Dr. Gray talk about this one because she has done fantastic things. And again, I think that it's unusual. It's not something that you hear a lot about in terms of things going on in the library. So Dr. Gray, take it away.
Thank you. All right. Well, one of the first things I would like to talk about is, like you mentioned, the subscription service. And this is a way that I try to help teachers in my building. I know that they have a lot on their plate. And one of our goals through our Equity in Action team is to have courageous conversations with our students. And how does that come up in an organic way? And how do you have that discussion? That can be stressful for teachers because you don't want it to feel like it's pushed. So the subscription service is a great way for me to help them with that. I put a book in their mailbox every week, and it's something they can share as a read aloud or just have in their classrooms. And then if conversation comes from that book, it's a great way to build on that. And that's one way to help them with their EIA goals, their equity and action goals, our building goals. Just anything I can do to take one thing off their plate, I'm going to do it. I also like to pull small groups for the teachers so that I can be helping them. So they have fewer kids in their class, and then that way I can be helping the kids more one-on-one or in small groups, especially with our equity goals. So that's one thing I love to do for our teachers. But as far as our students go and helping them, I really want to make the library, I always tell them, like, this is a nice, peaceful place for you. You can be calm in here. I'm definitely not a librarian that says you can't talk in the library. Like, we're going to make noise in the library, but it's going to feel comfortable. And it's going to be a place where you know you can always come and feel wanted and welcomed. And so with that, we've been working on some sustainability projects this year. Things that I think just make you feel good as a person because you're creating, you're using your hands, you're making something beautiful, but you're also helping our planet, our environment. So one of the things we've been doing is a plastic bag drive. So collecting all those plastic shopping bags that so many people have just stuck everywhere in their homes. I think that's helpful to the families too, because they can get rid of them. So we cut those plastic bags into loops, and we then tie those loops into yarn. And then we learned how to crochet that into a plastic mat. So that's been a lot of fun and a lot of work, but like easy social work. So it doesn't involve a lot of brain power, but it's something that they can sit and do together and just, and the crocheting, it's just calming and just having time with their friends. In the library, you're producing something wonderful. You really feel good about it, but it's also, helping the environment. So the yarn and the plastic mats have been a big hit. Something that I've been using the mats now too when we have our reading courtyard. So I purchased flexible furniture that's easy to move, like those sectionals that you see out by the pool. So I purchased one of those through a grant for the library. And on nice days, we move it outside, right outside the window in the library. And there's a grassy area too. So we put our mats out and we can read, and then we turn off all the lights in the library. That way we're saving electricity, and we just go outside and we read for the afternoon in the courtyard. It's just open for a couple of hours on nice afternoons, and kids know they can go out there and read. Or just, to hang out and talk about books, whatever they feel like doing together outside. And that's been a lot of fun too. And then lastly, we've been collecting plastic water bottles that we've been coloring with Sharpie markers and then cutting them into long spirals and making these Chihuly sculptures. They're beautiful. And we also had a design challenge with our 3D printer. How could we print some sort of inner mechanism to hold the bottle so that they cascade, to different levels? And then we wanted to add lights to it. So that was a whole new design project. How can we add some lights to this sculpture? So it's just been a lot of fun in the library, but also soothing too, and good for the soul to be working on these projects together. And then to see how they're being used just in our school community has been wonderful for the kids.
Oh, I love those ideas. Those are just so great. I've heard of the plastic bags before, but I love the plastic water bottles. Like, what a great idea. And using like your 3D printer and your minds for things like that. But especially just as you said, like having it be a peaceful place for kids and having it be a place that they can just be themselves and help others in the world, I think is so important. That's amazing.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm really excited because you're going to be part of our webinar in January. And so we'll get to see some pictures from your library and from your projects, and I'm sure hear a lot more. And so we're thrilled about that too. So thank you for sharing that.
Sure, I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, I am too. I'm so excited. And so is there a place that all of you share your work? Are you on social media? Do you have a website that people can check out?
Yes, I do. Well, I have just the library homepage for the Sorrento Springs Library. And I have a Bitmoji classroom on there with lots of links to the things that we're doing and some video around the projects that we're working on currently. So that's always there. Sorrento Springs is on Instagram and it's on Facebook. So yeah, definitely look up our school. We're doing amazing things.
That's awesome. And how about your district? How can we find the district work?
So I have an Instagram account. It's at Library Innovation. And then I also post on my Twitter account. It's at Mrs. Kyra Brennan. And then also district-wide, we have a regular like library services website and an innovation website as well.
Okay, great. I know people will wonder, so I always like to ask our guests at the end, like how we can find and learn more. And this was just a great little glimpse. And now we're going to get more from your librarians and both of you in the upcoming months. So I can't wait to share more about that, everybody. And thank you so much for sharing. I think this was so timely and just really great things to think about. And you're doing such special things. A lucky community to have the two of you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
You're so welcome. And just a big thanks for everybody for tuning in, and a special thanks to our friends at Follett. And so we will see you all soon on the next podcast. Thank you for joining us for the Future Ready Librarian podcast, Leading from the Library. I would like to also thank our sponsor, Follett Learning, for their amazing continued support.